I'm Matty, and I think we've got quite a lot to talk about tonight. So, since we last met up on the phone in, Hibs have been to Kelty and lost to Kelty. We've had what looks like a bit of a fallout between Bill Foley and Ian Gordon, and we've had a friendly against Watford. And we just saw the news there that Josh O'Connor's off to Dundalk. I don't know, we might talk about that. And as you'll see for John, a new third kit has been released as well. So let's start with the third kit, John. Get the important stuff out of the way. What are you thinking of
It
it?
was nice to have a bit of good news coming out in the middle of the week, just to sort of remind. Yeah, it's one of those where I just think it works quite nice. Collar's nice. It fits quite well when you get the right size. Doesn't dive down too much. Um, Subtly, the green is not as wide as the purple, so there's just apparently that's just a bit of tailoring and a bit more classy. But no, I got the thumbs up when I brought it home to say it looked quite nice. And it means I can now wear one. I normally wear the black strip from a couple of years ago when I'm at the
Nice.
match. So I've got a new one.
I had just been off the back of saying this on was it yesterday when it came out that the original green and purple stripe one I always thought was a wee bit overrated. Everybody kind of talks about it as a classic, and obviously it stands out because of what it was like. But I was always like, it was all right. Like it wasn't one of my favorite ever strips. But then the release, I think this one's nicer than the
It
old
just
one.
seems I don't know whether it's just that slight change in terms of the how they've done the lines, but no, it sits nicely. And it's one of those where it's a nice enough top, decent enough collar. You feel you can wear it. No, I think it'll be quite popular, and it's also not nobody else in Scottish football does that.
Yeah,
I mean, it is a uniquely Hibs. We'll go and do stuff like this, rather than sort of just going to follow plain colours and stuff. I saw you'd asked about, I think you the sort of the sky blue goalie top as well.
the goalie kit, aye.
Uh, I've no problem with sky blue stuff. If they go too deep in the blue, then it's nothing to do with the club. It's just a contrast colour.
Yeah,
Uh, it looks quite nice, and it's perfect if you want to be on holiday, but not obviously wearing a football strip.
I thought it looked all right. Yeah, I mean, goalies'
And
colours tend
the
to be
lime
quite
green
wild
one's
now,
as
don't they?
well, isn't there? It's the
Yeah.
lime green and the pink. So the three give a nice alternative. Uh, but let's be honest, anybody who's going to take fashion tips for me is in trouble anyway. So no, I'm quite happy that it looks okay, and I got thumbs up when I got back.
Nice one. We'll take that. Take the wins where they happen. Um, right, where do you want to start with the football, John?
Well, I was up behind the goals at Kelty last week, and I know we've probably chewed over it probably too much ever since. I think Gray just put too many changes in. I
Hmm.
think that if he'd started with a beta and he'd started with Newell in the middle of the park, then he's not put in Megwa in the position of playing out of position on the wrong side. He weakened the left side too much because you had Molotnikov was the only player that played there in the previous games. So you had McCurdy ahead of him and Megwa behind. It just took that side of the pitch out for us. And I think if we'd had, because down the right, we were making lots of runs. We were getting to that byline, sort of Miller and Boyle.
Hmm.
O'Hora was getting the passes in down the line. He was getting the cross balls. So there was lots of good about it. But the ball sometimes got stuck in the middle of the pitch, didn't move across quickly enough and down the other side. Yeah, could we have scored three or four? Yeah, we didn't. They could have scored two easy. I mean, the fact that we one's cleared off the line is disappointing. But no, I just think it was overcooked in terms of the changes. Manager will learn from it, and hopefully we go and do the business against Peterhead. Queens Park don't score. Is it four more goals than us? No, I
Aye.
mean against Kelty. No, I mean they just shouldn't have been in the position. The disappointing thing is that you go into this want to be seeded.
Hmm.
I mean, you've got to beat everybody. I mean, you've got to beat everything that's in front of you if you're going to win the cup. But only three of the group winners are seeded going into the draw. I mean, we could have been that, but we've allowed that to go.
Yeah, and it's probably out of all the games that we had, might have been the least the last one that you would have expected us to slip up on. Um, the the team that we put out should have been strong enough to win, though, John. No.
So McCurdy has three chances One is always going past the post. We were right behind it. I think his volley's probably the best chance. It's a
Hmm.
nice looped header coming out of the back post, and he doesn't hit the target. I know it hits the bar and it seems more spectacular, but it's as close to being a goal as Venti's was that went flying over the bar. Molotnikov in the second half probably has the best chance that falls to somebody in the box. I mean, sort of 12 yards out, and again, it just goes up in the air. Venti fights, gets a header off against the centre back, but it comes back off the post. Boyle can't quite get to the follow up. There's lots of maybes in there, but I think, as I say, I think if we'd been putting crosses in from both sides, their centre backs wouldn't have known where they were coming from, and it would have just added a bit more threat.
Mm.
The early goal wasn't there, but the corner was unforgivable. If you watch it again, their guy is still at the guy who scores is still in the centre line. I mean, when the ball goes out, he
Is he?
actually it's a centre back, right?
Yeah.
So he comes in, so he comes into frame when you watch the highlights, and he just goes right through the Hibs defence. Nobody tracks and follows him at all. So everybody's saying, "Oh, Miller didn't get him," but he's gone past about four Hibs players. I mean, just running into that central area because he's just gambling.
It's mental. The defending wasn't great for cross balls on Saturday, but then I
But
think you've got a new goalkeeper, two centre halves playing together that who aren't familiar with each other, two centre mids who aren't familiar with each other. And like you say, the whole on that of the left hand side was like a new pairing. So
not a lot wrong with the goalie. I mean, he came out for the cross, which he shouldn't have, but he got dug out for that in terms of the clearance off the line. Other than that, he was moving the ball well enough. There was no real problem with the centre back pairing. Miller clearly can get his voice up quite high because I don't know what he'd done to himself when he went down in the first half. He looked as if he was in real bother, so not surprised he didn't play yesterday. Um, but no, I thought we looked, I mean, in many positions, okay.
mhm.
O'Hara comes out of the game, yeah, played as well as he's played in the other games and clearly seems to be in a really good signing. So you're looking for the positives, but we lost it, and we lost it because we put out a weakened team or too weak a team.
Yeah. James, the Miller thing was right in front of us, wasn't it? Like I think we ended up standing on the telly as Miller's in a heap right at our feet. Um, it did look like a sore, and actually was able to tell that the linesman shouted to the referee to stop the game, and in a rare break from tradition, I actually gave the linesman a bit of praise for taking sort of quick action because it looked like Miller was in a lot of bother. I thought he was going to have to come off, um, but then there he was, like a minute or two later,
I
he
mean,
was running about
the
again.
referee didn't the referee and the officials didn't really influence the game.
Not at
Uh,
all.
Kelty Hearts were really good at managing it when they got a goal up. I mean, every player was down for the obligatory 35 seconds while the referee came over to make sure he was okay. No concerns with him doing that at all. That's
Yeah.
what you've got to do. We just didn't move it fast enough. As I say, I thought the ball not having the left side meant that we would go down the right. It wouldn't get there. When it came
Mhm.
back, it was sticking too long with the centre backs, and there wasn't an obvious. Abita has been the ball out, as we saw last night. I mean, in the first half.
Yeah. It wasn't a lot of fun, eh? Like, and you could tell.
It's.
I think as soon as they
I,
scored, you kind of saw what was coming for that point.
I mean, I couldn't tell you what the reaction of the fans were at the end because the final whistle went, and I just left. I mean, it's one of. It's the. I said early in the summer. There's things that I can get up and down about. I mean, in terms of
Mhm.
Hibs, you were supporting them right up to the last minute, but they didn't score. So it's just head away. Disappointed with the result. Can still win the group stage. It's not in the top five worst results we've ever had. I mean, I sat there when we got relegated by Hamilton. I mean, that felt a hell of a lot worse.
Mhm.
I mean, so I think there's been a lot of people overstating it, but I think it's because everybody's looking for something to hold on to. I mean, not much of it is just do they want to bash the club. Everybody's looking for a bit of a turn, a bit of a change. There's more being promised. It's all the hope. I mean, you'll probably discuss whether there's other things that have been going on this week, but that's, I think, what leads to such a swing the other way is that we've done so well in two games.
Yeah.
Everybody wants Gray to succeed. He was getting quite a lot out of 11 to 13 of the players. I mean, then suddenly he does what other managers have done and sort of turn it on its head, throw six changes in. and it doesn't work out, and you're thinking, yeah, we've all seen this movie before, and so have you.
I thought the exact same. The fact that we were in a position where everybody was almost looking forward to the new season. Yeah, like when we'd scored 10 goals across 2 games,
Mhm.
we'd conceded one, which was right at the arse end of one of the games, and the football had been really good.
Right.
And it was certainly when I headed up to Kelty on Saturday, I was buzzing for it. Like in the way I was expecting us to kind of go in and it'd be another wee goal fest for us and come back down the road sort of
Mhm.
full of optimism. And I think that's maybe
Yeah,
where like you said, where the reaction comes from is because folk felt massively let down by it.
aye. And they don't know where the target is at the moment, and that's part of the problem.
Mm.
But we sort again, Gray and the players have got a chance to sort out on Saturday.
I'm going to come to Tracy next, Jack. I know I said I'd come to you second, but just Tracy might not be able to stay with us for the whole evening. So Tracy, I'll bring you in next. What do you want to speak about?
Where do you start, eh?
I know.
Um, I don't know. Do we go on to the Bill Foley stuff?
On you go. The floor is yours. You could talk about whatever you like.
Well, so originally was it Tuesday or was it Monday?
Monday, I think, when
It
the
was
when the
Monday.
story came out on the BBC was
I'm
Monday.
so
Yeah.
lost with this week. And somebody had sent me an article and said, "Oh, that's quite interesting reading," and it was just about, what the Black Knight group wanted to kind of achieve and so. Um, and then but I'd seen somebody had posted the bit that Bill Foley had said, they're not listening to us. And I was like, well, where's this bit come from? So they sent me the other link. And I was like, oh, right. I said, that's not so good. Because although Bill Foley is also an investor, he is actually a board member.
Yeah.
So it feels like a bit of in-house fighting. It's not great that you've made it public. All these things should be kept in-house. And then I don't know where it's come about. I don't know if it's somebody's leaked it, if it's come through the club or whatever, but then it comes out to say that the club hadn't listened on the Malky Mackay and Dave Gray appointments. And then silence. Nobody says a thing, knowing that we've got a game on the Wednesday night and people are going to ask questions. And of course, Dave Gray is the one that's left to answer them. And for me, I think that's diabolical. Where are our leaders at this club? Because we have not heard from them in such a long time. At the end of the day, if you're a CEO of an organisation, you're CEO of that whole organisation. So, where's our CEO? Where's our chairman? We've only had an article in the Hibs Observer. Or where's our owners? Nobody's saying a thing. And maybe they felt the right thing was not to say something so that they weren't like biting back. But even something like we're aware of the comments and it's conversations that are getting held in the background. But to leave Dave Gray to have to answer those questions is just bang out of order. Now, somebody, and I don't know if he was just being tongue in cheek because he's saying, oh, it's football. I am literally sick to the back teeth, actually, the last few weeks of hearing how, oh, it's football, it's cutthroat, people have to make decisions. Well, own your decisions. And it's not an excuse to say it's football, to treat people in a certain manner. At the end of the day, we're dealing with people and, it doesn't matter what business you're in, you should treat people with the utmost respect until they give you a reason not to.
Yeah.
But it's also made me question, and I think you said it as well on Extra Time, have Hibs known what they've been getting into? Do they know what the terms of the deal were? Or has somebody just reneged on it?
I think it goes both ways, doesn't it? Because Foley's obviously come out and criticised the club for not listening to him, and they're clearly under no obligation to listen to him in terms of who's got final say, because Foley's talked about that. But you're right, if the expectation was for them to listen to him, and it's not happened, then you can understand why he was upset by it. With the caveat that I'm only as sure as this information as I can be, right? Then it's come from a couple of different independent sources, which is generally where I would be comfortable repeating something. Like if I've heard it for a couple of different sources, that Foley obviously talked about the not listening bit, but the detail of what he disagreed about, so about the Malcolm McCann, about David Gray, came through the club side, so either directly or indirectly from the club side to kind of clear that out, almost as in sort of response to what Foley had said.
Which is worse.
Again, I put the healthy caveat on it. Like I'm only going on having been told that, and so you kind of trust that people give you that information in good faith, and I'll relay it in good faith. But I have to put that caveat on that I can't say 100% of that is accurate. But there was certainly nothing in the interview with Foley that went into detail about what was wrong.
No. And I would
or what
imagine
he
he's
didn't
not
like.
got to where he is in life without being kind of, he's probably not scared to tread on anybody's toes and say what he feels. My thoughts were, when we discussed the investment, was they've only been in football since December 2022. So they aren't football people as such, they're businessmen. Okay, they've now brought in this guy, I can't remember his name, spoke about him a few weeks ago, that's going to kind of come in and overlook the group. So he's obviously got a very good football background, but you've got Michael Jordan, who's an actor, who's invested, I think, in Bournemouth. So again, they're not football people. And ice hockey is very different from football, or soccer as they'll call it. So I always felt that was a big transition as well from them. Obviously, Bournemouth have done slightly better last season than they did the season before when they came in. And obviously the Premier League's a really tough league, and lots of money. But I don't agree that we can all play the same football either, because we're all leagues are different. We saw when Sean came from working with the Belgian national team, he tried to do different things. It didn't work. And although you could see what he was trying to do, we're just never going to get the players to be able to carry that out.
But isn't the point that if we play that way, he's sending us the players to do it? Like, is that not his whole thinking? Is we get the group to play in a similar way, and we move players within the group, and just increase the level to which they can do it with each move.
I can see his point and why he wants to do that, but I just think with different leagues, sometimes it just doesn't work. And okay, what players are we just going to be forced to take players? Are they players that maybe we feel don't really fit what we're wanting as well? I think then you can go down so many different avenues with that.
Yeah, and you spot, but to me, this is all the sort of stuff that should have been thrashed out before anybody pressed the button on the deal. Like, to get to this point and us thinking we didn't really want to be involved with it because we want to be, the complete masters of our own destiny, and then the other party be surprised. I find it baffling how we get to that stage. John, you got your hand up. I'll bring you back in now.
Yeah, apologies to others. I don't think that Mackay and Gray are the issues here. Malcolm Mackay's already said that he will go down south, he will meet with them down there. I would expect both of them, to be the grown-ups in the room who will be going down, linking in with what they're doing. The football that we have seen, we saw it in the first half last night more than the second. We've seen it in the first couple of games. We certainly saw it against Queen's Park. We are playing possession football at the back, getting the ball up the pitch as quickly as possible, not a lump, but through the levels. And we're pressing. So we're not playing a game that's going to be completely alien to what the group may be looking for. So I think that anything that's suggesting that sort of David Gray is going to be a problem going forward with regards to the relationship with the Black Knights is a bit false. And if I'm honest,
I agree with that.
Bill Foley's comments related to he was asked a direct question about the result, and he's given a very vague answer about we weren't being listened to, but we will be now. There's a way that's a statement, where you can work around that. To then release the detail of a board meeting and what the detail was of the disagreement between board members, I'm sorry, that's getting towards failure of fiduciary responsibilities. I mean, and I would expect McPherson as the chairman of the board, I mean, to be looking really, really hard to find out who in the club has leaked that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's not trivial. I mean, we have to turn around and say that leaking that to was it the Evening News, who, let's face it, always love to if they can have a story that throws mud at Hibs, they're quite happy. I mean, there's a real failure at a corporate level here. I mean, as fans, we're sitting saying, "Oh, it's a bit of an argument." No. Foley's comments were general. I mean, and they showed the comments of a man who has been in business for decades. Do I think that Ron Gordon would have released those details to the press? Never in a million years. The man had decades worth of experience.
Mhm.
If you look at, I deliberately had a look today, we only have 5 full-time directors if you include Kensal. I mean, Kensal's been there since 2019. Kit and Ian joined the board in March 23, following clearly the sad circumstances around about Ron and his subsequent death. We then have the 2 from Black Knights come on sort of earlier this year. We look at the rest of the board members, we have 2 board members that have been there since before March 23. We have a relatively inexperienced and new board in terms of getting to know each other. I mean, so I think there's a lot now placed on the chairman to understand how did this happen and how do we sort it out? Because his job as the non-executive in there is to act in every shareholder's best interests. He doesn't take sides. He's a non-exec deliberately, so he's not a paid employee of the club. You know what I mean? So I would be surprised if there aren't already conversations going on behind the scenes to say we can't have these spats in the press. But as I say, whoever has decided to think that they can weaponise David Gray against Bill Foley, you know what I mean? There's enough fans out here who know how they should be conducting themselves in that boardroom, and it shows horrendous naivety. I've got no idea who did it, and I'm deliberately not using any names. You know what I mean? Because there's about 10 people on that board.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
it's shocking. I mean, board meetings should be completely confidential.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember I used to hate, because we used to always like see the manager first in the board meetings, and I just used to think, please don't say any players' names that you're thinking of, because I am then in that circle of knowing a name, and I just didn't want to know, because you're then part of that conversation. And they should just be confidential. There's too many things that get leaked out from our football club. And it's actually, we're a laughing stock already, and the actual season hasn't actually begun. And it's just, I mean, even John was like, can I not just sit here tonight and listen and laugh? And I'm like, no, you can't.
I think that there is a very real issue, and not directly linked to what you were saying there, John. So I'm not implying anything here, but we have a real issue that Ron Gordon bought the club, and Ron Gordon came to the club with a background as a very successful business, but also a lifetime experience behind him in senior roles and how to run businesses. And when he passed, Ian Gordon has taken that role over. But I don't know what Ian Gordon's track record is in running successful businesses. I don't know how many years' experience he's got of running businesses, or whether he's got the skills at all to do it. And it feels to me that as an outsider looking in, it looks like we've got somebody who's promoted above their ability, making key decisions on the club, and we're seeing the impact as a support in terms of performance going down, season ticket sales going down, or not increasing to the level that they should.
But the credit you would want to give them is that as a family, they have invested millions.
Yeah, but
into
even
the club.
they've invested it though, rather than spent it. Do you know,
please, they've taken over the club. My views on how they treated HSL are sort of well documented. But what I would say is that last year they said they had the review. Then the Black Knights came in, and then this year they're having a review. Malky Mackay arrives in a ta-da moment, I mean, ahead of any proper comms. We get rid of a manager, hum and haw, and then appoint David Gray. So what we do as fans is we reset all that. I mean, you give the credit to the owners for having a new plan because what they've had hasn't worked. I mean, we could have a list of players that we would say, why the blazes did you give this person a 4-year contract 18 months ago? that's all there. That was the
Yeah.
mistakes that were made, and the cash has gone in to some extent to fix that. I mean, and that's come from them. The unfortunate thing is they won't have bottomless pits of money, so it's a shame that that's been wasted. So you give them that credit. The disappointment this week is that having given all that credit back, we're now into sort of, you said this, so I'll say that, and I'll go and tell my friend in the playground, and it's that just has to be taken away. There's a level of professionalism that has to be put to this. Sorry, that's a bit ranty.
No, sorry. I think the thing with the review is important. I tend to think that that's as much of what Foley's talking about as anything. I think if you've come in and say we're doing a review because we've not made top six, and we're getting the Black Knight to look at everything, and they're going to look at all aspects of the football club, and they do the review, and then we press ahead with decisions that are taken locally anyway, which are clearly going to fall under the remit of the review. Things like a performance director or David Marshall's role or a head coach. All of these things you would think would be in scope for any review that anybody's coming in. If we'd hired an independent consultancy firm to come in and go and look at the operation of the football club we're failing and tell us what we need to do to fix it. You would wait for them to run through the process and then come back with the recommendations before you did anything. And it looks to me like the Black Knights have done that review and they've got the recommendations, but we're going to go with Malcolm Mackay and David Gray. And that's what's put the noses out of joint. And I sort of can understand that.
The one question I would ask Tracy, because her knowledge of the club is better than mine, who can the club actually now put forward that the fans would take seriously? I mean, we were so used to, over the last decade, Leanne would front and centre. I mean, she was really good at that. Whether the fans were all behind her or there was going to be a bit of flack, she was good at taking a decision and being there with it. And as you say, owning it. Ron was really good at that as well. I mean, so we've been used to a more charismatic approach. We got used to, under previous regimes with Mr. Petrie. I mean, you got very, very little. I mean, one word we attribute to him is exuberance. I mean, and that's the thing. So we liked the Leanne approach. We liked the Ron Gordon approach, but I think Ben Kensel is sort of burnt his coaches with the fans at the moment. So I'm not sure who within the club at the moment can step forward.
Yeah, because he was getting all the praise as well from Malcolm about how he put this deal together as well. So there was, lots of good talk about that. And, I thought, well, at least somebody's come out and spoken, and the fact they'd actually backed Ben as well. Now, whether or not you like Ben or not, somebody for the club actually came out and backed somebody and actually said they were backing them instead of just some words on a statement that everybody was wondering whether they backed them or not. So at least there was somebody being upfront and saying they actually backed him. But yeah, we've not heard, and I know. Well, I'm guessing Ben's taken a step back from most of the football stuff, which is why we've got Malky. But at the end of the day, he's still CEO of the organisation, and he's the one that should be fronting that. As you say, Leanne didn't have a bother with it. Ron, even if there was tough times, he would maybe speak to you guys, Longbangers and all the other kind of podcasts, and kind of pull the fans groups together and have discussions with them so that everybody could see. And then he would speak to the press as well. So he always kind of covered all bases. And we seem to have lost that. And it makes us, I just feel like the life has just been sucked right out of me with Hibs at the moment. Not with the team, but with the club. I'm just at kind of my wit's end with it, because it just always seems to be something. And you kind of think, oh, they're starting to get things right. And then we take kind of 2 steps forward and about 10 steps back.
Just want a season to be normal, Tracy, yeah? Just give us a season of being normal. That was all we asked.
It's been a Hibbie.
I know. Let me bring Jack in next. Jack, how is it going? What do you want to talk about tonight?
Well, just last night's game, the Hibs board and Bill Foley. It's just kicking off at the minute, So,
what do you? So let's start with the game last night. What did you make of that?
It was, first half was good, but then into the second half, bringing on the youngsters, you can see what David Gray's trying to do, but we still need to add to the squad in certain areas. Need a striker before the new season starts, in my opinion.
Where else would you add to?
Get a backup left-footed left back, because we need that just in case for reinforcements.
Yeah. What did you think of the performance of the team in the first half?
It was good, but in the second half we dropped a bit. Like, we did drop a bit.
Did you just put that down to the number of changes that we made?
Yeah, a wee bit of changes. I know bringing on the youngsters, but you could see Riley Harbottle making a few mistakes because he's not really featured as much.
What do you think of Harry McCurdy getting his first goal at Easter Road?
Well, aye, great. I mean, didn't he score much before, but aye, it's good to see him get on the score record and hopefully see more of that for Harry McCurdy. Hopefully you can see what he's capable of.
So I thought he probably looked our most dangerous player on
Yeah.
Saturday, certainly for the
Yeah.
first half until he went off. And then what we were talking about there, Jack, about Bill Foley and the Hibs board.
Oh,
What do you make of it all? Like, talk us
Well,
through your thoughts.
it's a bit of a mess, eh? I mean, like, there's a lot going on in the board now, and like my dad and cousins have said, the board's been a mess for a while, so it's like kind of just not really changed, has it?
What would you like to see happen next?
I have no idea. Not really thought that far ahead, but there's plenty of stuff that could change, but I just don't know where to start.
Nice one. I'm going to just bring in James as well. James, what do you make of the discussion so far? Like, where do you stand on it?
A lot of talking points covered, which has been good. But as Tracy said, this is embarrassing. We just wanted to get into this season, get the St game. Season's underway. All in 11 playing field, and Hibs are back, and we're going to start winning a few games under David Gray. We're still in the League Cup group stages, and we're making a bit of an arse of it, and then we're just behind the scenes making another arse of it. It's just, we're looking forward to the season. I mean, I was going to say to Tracy, do you regret buying the season ticket? Because 3 weeks ago, when David Gray got the job, she was on cloud nine, bought her ticket, which I thought was brilliant because we obviously had discussions earlier about not buying it. And then again, she's scun it again. And it's, the fans are the ones that are going to suffer.
Haven't actually watched it.
Oh, yeah, you lied to us.
So back up, getting further away again.
But that's, I mean, that shouldn't be happening, especially someone like yourself, Tracy. You're kind of lifeblood of the club. I mean, for the fan side of it. And to hear you're getting further and further away from the club is gut-wrenching, you know? So, for me, it's easy. I love my football. I'll go every Saturday, Tuesday and watch the Hibs. That's what I do. There's no question it comes to ticket. I'll get a ticket. But I don't know what needs to change. I mean, you asked the question there, what would you change? We had figureheads. We had Ron, who came out, publicly spoke passionately about the club. Leanne was the same. Ian obviously doesn't have that either confidence, know-how, not sure what it is. Has he run a business? Is he doing it out of goodwill for his dad, which is admirable in itself, but can we, as fans, as a club, as what we do, accept that? Enzo may have been elsewhere on Saturday. Can we accept that? Is he doing a good job behind the scenes? Is he making his money? Is he doing his job? And if not, that's a finger that needs to be pointed. If he is, hands up, keep the money coming. But we've not spent a penny this window. So is there money? Where is it? Unfortunately, it's just causing us far too many questions. And it's not comfortable questions, and it's not football related questions. I'd rather be on here tonight talking about battering Kelty, a good performance of the boys last night, and looking forward to Peterhead on Saturday. But here we are in the politics again, and it's embarrassing. It's just not the kind of thing we want to be doing. It gives us something to talk about, which is a plus, but it's not the subject matter. We want to be looking forward to the season, know this, what the hell is going to happen. What if Foley walks away or keeps his 25%, but gives us no players? We're all banking on getting 3 or 4 class players from Bournemouth. Now we're like, they're not going to give us anything. They're just going to give us either has-beens or Waynes that are just not going to cut the mustard in this league. So
yeah, and we've already said, and we're on record, and quite rightly, that we will not just take players for the sake of it. So it's like a sort of key moment, really, isn't it, in terms of the relationship and how that setup is going to go. You didn't want to have burned your bridges after 4 months, 5 months, or whatever it's been. It just seems like sort of ridiculous to be in this position. Tracy, you got your hand up. James, you have a wee think about this question. So I'll come back to you once I've brought Tracy in. David, put David Gray under the spotlight. So I'm just going to talk to you about when that comes back. Just have a think about what is the impact it's had on David Gray and how he handled the questions last night. And while you think about that, I'll go to Tracy and bring Tracy back in. When you go, Tracy.
Well, believe it or not, I was actually going to defend Ben. Don't all pass it. But the rumours were that he was there with his son. Now, if his son's a big Manchester United fan, possibly, as a CEO, Ben probably doesn't get a lot of time off with his family. So I would be quite prepared to give him that one. As long as there was other senior management or board members that were at the game on Saturday, then, I think we can maybe allow him a little bit of family time.
I think with these, so I've seen a few tweets to say that Ben wasn't at Murrayfield, so I don't actually know what the situation is, but I tend to agree with you, Tracy. I think in the immediate aftermath of a game where you've lost to Kelty Hearts, folk are looking for a target, and it's not a good look. Like if he's not at the game, you kind of think, well, where is the CEO at a moment like this?
But and I think we've got to remember as well, he's a human being too. We all talk about people abusing players and the rest of it, but everybody is a human being. So regardless of what you think about them, be critical, but be constructive and the rest of it. We don't need to abuse people.
Aye, but in the cold light of day, folk need to take time off for their work, like for your own health, for your own mental well-being. You need to take time away for your work, and it doesn't matter if you're paid 12 quid an hour or 350 grand a year. Your brain doesn't change how you work. It doesn't, like the way that things affect you and the way that stress or all the rest that affects you doesn't change. People need to take time off for their work. They need to be able to switch off, and if that means choosing family time or doing whatever the fuck you want, really, on a Saturday afternoon. Like I've missed important things at my work because I've needed to take a holiday. I've been away with the family or whatever. Nobody bats an eyelid because it's no football. It shouldn't make any difference. People on a human level need to be able to take time off and not get criticised for it. So,
exactly.
I think, like I say, I totally understand that, but it's no great image when your team loses to Kelty Hearts and you're kind of saying, well, did we take it seriously and all this, right? Because it's very easy to sort of draw those parallels. But if I take a step back from, and it's just my opinion, I think it doesn't really matter, does it? Like the guy could have been going around the shop and he could be in Almondvale or probably no there, and but it could have been anywhere, like ice skating or at the cinema or whatever the fuck he wants to do. If he wants to, he could have sat in his pants playing Xbox. Like it doesn't matter.
Might have been at an escape room or something.
Could have been at an escape room, John. Exactly. It could have been at a bloody escape room. Folk are allowed to do what they want with their time. If you take the time off, you're allowed holidays. It's like fair play to them, right? James, David Gray. How do you think that situation will affect him, and how do you think he's handled it?
It's going to put pressure on him, whether he likes it or not. I mean, he's in a pressurised job as it is. He knew that was happening, but I don't think he needed this extra pressure this early. I would maybe have hoped Mackay would have stepped in and just took some of those points away, because it's not football related. It's not about what was going on last night. Porteous coming back to play a friendly and see the first team at Easter Road. So the questions I seen on Sky were all football, then there was just one curveball right at the end. And I thought he handled it the way he's handled every question. He is such a good speaker. No bullshit, no cliches. It's just, he repeated what he said before about getting the job. I've earned this job. I put my name forward. I did the work. I was chosen to do this job. And I thought, spot on, mate. Cracking answer. That's the way you could probably almost feel the guy asked the question just kind of getting lower in his chair, just going, I've just been put in my place here. There's no story. There's no David Gray going, oh, Foley's an idiot. He shouldn't be saying things like that. David Gray just says, I've been chosen to do this job, and that's what I'm here to do. It's no my focus. And it was just like, there's no comeback for what he said.
We're talking about this on the Hibs Observer YouTube video this morning. I was on with Liam there, and the point I made is we probably, idiots like me that talk about it because we've been on a podcast and it's like manna from heaven, this sort of stuff. Like, it comes through you, and immediately you've got an episode to talk about stuff, and it's topical, and you get engagement with it, and like, we live and breathe Hibs, like all of us live and breathe Hibs. So when something like this comes through, the way my head works, I start playing it through. But the reality for the folk involved is Bill Foley will have said that and not thought twice about it. He'll have got on with his day. Hibs might have picked up the phone to him and said, Bill, we could have really done with saying that. David Gray would have seen it. Probably somebody for the club's phoned them and said, don't worry about it, it's just a storm in a teacup. And he'll have got on with training the players and got on with preparing for Watford and played the game. And it wouldn't have been until Luke from Sky stuck the microphone under his nose to say, Ken, what's your take on this? That he's thought about it again. So the reality in terms of like the day-to-day of the club is there's probably not that big an impact, and probably on the outside it's like caused a much bigger storm than they'll be seeing inward, unless of course it's symptomatic of bigger issues, in which case we should be concerned. James, just go back to Kelty on Saturday. We watched the game together.
Yes, we did.
Well,
excuse my swearing.
No, I think I was worse than you. What did you think of the game?
It was interesting. I mean, if other teams watch how Kelty's lined up against us, we could have a few problems this year breaking them down again. But this has been our problem for the last couple of years. But I was surprised at how organised Kelty were for a League One side. I mean, you could expect them to be a bit kind of rough, kind of strong tackle, a wee bit kind of narky. But in the second half, when we were passing out from the back, they just pushed up all four in the midfield and forward into a line, blocking us, doing the short pass into midfield, forcing us to go long. And I thought it was quite clever, because probably out of 10 passes, 1 or 2 actually made it to their destination cleanly, and the rest were kind of bouncing around or went straight out of the park. And I thought it was such a simple little thing, just to take 5 or 6 steps forward and just block the midfield, and we had no answer for it. And that's my concern. I mean, down the right-hand side, as John said, and as we were saying Saturday, the passing round was brilliant. We were pulling them so wide. The balls from Mahora were just a joy to watch. I do love the way he just he can play it short, he can play it long, he can play a little chip over the top. And it's like, that's good to watch. And I thought Rocky was all right. I thought Megwa on the left, even though right-footed, I said in the comments, never have a right-footed. If you can have one, fine, but not 2, because every time you're just cutting back, and slowing the game down. I thought it was a good game to watch until they scored, and it was just, you seen it coming. I don't know if I shouted, just fucking close that down. Wake up, fucking wake up. And they didn't. And the big boy, to his credit, just ran in and battered it in. What Rocky should be doing, what Ahora has done, it's just a simple goal, and it's a Hibs goal to lose at the moment. Just get across into the box early. They're just not ready for it. So I sort of enjoyed the game perversely. It's always good seeing Hibs play. We lost. I thought they deserved their win just for the effort they put in and the tactics to stop us, and left the ground basically embarrassed, because I think one team's done us over. But I was also, as we discussed, embarrassed with some of our own fans. I mean, the youngins get a hard time for their behaviour, rightly so. It's a bit over the top at times, but the ones that we were pointing out and kind of just looking at were older, should know better, pissed completely and almost frothing at the mouth, some of them. It was just like, there was something said from the seated section that upset Jair. I didn't catch it, but Jair was getting kind of pulled away to the centre circle. And it's just, here we are again. It's just third game in, and it's like, geez, oh.
Aye, very needless. I think the one that got to use is about he shouted at Levitt. Do you know, you just shout, "You're shite, Levitt. You're never fit to wear a Hibs jersey." And you think, how the fuck does that help? Like, what's that? There's still like 25 minutes to go in the game, and you think, what's that doing for the boy? Like, that's not going to make him want to bust a gut for you. He's not going to go, "Oh, I'm going to prove this boy wrong." He's going to think, "Fuck you." I just don't get it. Like, I don't get that line of thinking. It's just no who I am, and I struggle to justify it. I get folk being upset about us losing because it is embarrassing, and I get the anger around it. But do you direct it at people and start shouting stuff like that? I'm not sure that's the right way to go at
Yeah,
things. But
I think you said it on extra time the other night. Like, there'll be people out there saying, "Oh, why didn't you say something to him?" It's just like, not getting involved with these folk. Because they're in wee groups at the best of times, and they're all steaming, and they're all egging each other on. So the best thing is I just walk away, just
try to encourage the players, Mayor.
that's be positive, which is not usually my forte.
Aye.
I'm usually abusive, but not that level. But try and be positive.
I'll bring Charlie in. Charlie, thanks for joining us tonight. How are you doing, mate?
I'm all right, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, good. What have you got for us? Where do you want to start?
It's funny that our defeat to Kelty Hearts and the world's falling apart again, eh? Like, I don't know. Like, it just is mental that one defeat in the League Cup and it's panic stations again. But that's the way supporting Hibs, I guess. One defeat and you're sacking the manager. So, aye. But no, I think I've only been to Kelty and last night, and I'm really impressed with what I'm watching. I think last night especially, I think you can see that he's trying to make the wingers go wider and cut inside, which I think that suits Martin Boyle. But no, I think on the whole, we're still a million miles away from a finished team. I think we still need 5 or 6 players, which is very nerve-wracking considering it's, 8 days until the first game of the season? The actual league season, because the League Cup obviously counts. But
next Sunday, we're kick off away at St Mirren.
Mm-hmm. So I'm nervous that we've not got a squad ready to go, but I think there will be movement. I think it depends on if some of our targets are playing in Europe tonight and next Thursday. We'll need to wait and see what comes of that. But I think we're just, I don't know, we're a bit reactionary again rather than being proactive in the window.
Do you think? I mean, you talk about the sort of world falling apart because of the defeat to Kelty. Do you think that on its own was enough for the world to fall apart, or do you think that the subsequent noise around what's happened in the background has fueled that fire?
Well, I don't think Foley's comments come out if we win last Saturday. I think, and again, that's one defeat in panic station setting. I think if we'd beat Kelty last week in the manner that we'd won, or actually if we'd won one, no, it wouldn't have mattered because it's still 3 points. But I think because we got beat last week, it gives a platform for the media to spin that Hibs are in free fall again. But I don't know. It feels a bit dodgy that this is the timing for it. I don't know. Like, why is Foley made that comment? Why is the press leaked that it was Malky Mackay and David Gray that he didn't want? It just, something feels a bit wrong, and someone's obviously leaked it from the club. So again, that's an issue that, we even had. Well, you'll remember when Lee Johnson got sacked, the email was leaked before. So there's a systematic issue at the club of people leaking stuff they shouldn't be leaking, whether that's Kensal and the Albion bar, people leaking stuff to the press. It's just, there's a lot at this club that needs to change.
Where would you start that change, Charlie? If you were coming in as the fresh broom that sweeps clean, where would you start?
I don't know. I'd make people sign an agreement that they didn't tell people anything. Like, a lot of this stuff should be confidential. Like somebody mentioned about the board meeting, that should never ever get to the press. What's happened in a board meeting, or just stuff that should be confidential should stay confidential. I think that would be the first thing I'd change. And obviously, I'm not going to say I'd sack this man or this man because I don't know what they do on a daily basis. I have my perceptions of what they do and how good they do their job, but I'm not there. I can't comment saying, no, he does his job well or he doesn't. So I would probably try and change the culture a wee bit if I was in charge. Thankfully, I'm not, because I can imagine it comes with its own pressures, but I would try and change the culture at least.
And then let's talk about the performance last night. You said that was like the second time that you'd seen us. What did you like about the performance?
I think the first, up until Watford scored, I think we were really up for it. I think we were trying to attack them. You could see the style of play that David Gray wants us to play. Like we're no scared of lumping it forward, but also keeping it tight. I think seen some really nice passes. I think Boyle was hitting them on the wing, and wee Rudy looked superb. I think he's got a bright future ahead of him. And I think, and then when they got back into it, I was a bit like, oh, it's typical of last season. You know, they stepped back a wee bit, but then second half, I thought we played all right in spells as well. I was really happy to see McCurdy get a goal. I think I'm one of the only Hibs fans who wants McCurdy to do well now. I think a lot of people have wrote him off, but I think he looks hungry. He looks like he's enjoying his football. And Dave Gray said that last night. I think it was on a Sky Sports interview that McCurdy's came back with a smile on his face and he's enjoying himself. So that can only be a positive. And hopefully that continues.
I think your perception of McCurdy is wrong. There's a big chunk of the support that want to see him do well. I mean, certainly Kelty on Saturday, the shouts for McCurdy were nothing but encouragement. Like every time we went near the support, he was getting folk going, "Go on, Harry," and all the rest.
I was subjected to the Kelty end on Saturday, standing next to Hearts fans and Rangers fans, so I missed those chants. But
right, fair dues. They probably shout different things. I can imagine.
They were shouting. They were shouting some other stuff at him. But no, I think I want every Hibs player to do well, and I think that's probably another thing that should change at the club as well. We shouldn't be writing. I know there's people didn't have their people that they like to say, "Oh, you're pish" or whatever. But I think on the whole we should be doing that to Hearts players, Aberdeen players, Celtic players. I think we should be trying to encourage our own players all the time. And I know I'm guilty of it as well. I've said, "Oh, he's pish," or I said Harbottle was shite last night for the third goal. But ultimately, we should be looking to cheer our own players on. You know.
Aye, I'm all on board with that. Like I always remember speaking to Colin about it one time and saying, when we started going to, certainly I started going to the football, you would stand on the terrace and you kind of slaughter the opposition and cheer on your own players. And no, like it was the universal. Like if you asked Joe Tortolano how the Hibs fans were, I'm sure he'd sort of kind of paint a different picture. But certainly it was more skewed toward like abusing commas, but bamming up the opposition than it was to bamming up your own players. And I think you want to try and make especially your own stadium, as comfortable for your own players to play as possible, because that's where they'll thrive. You didn't want to have it as hostile for them. Really, you wanted it to be hostile for the opposition. Right, we're last couple of minutes. We'll start wrapping up. I get very conscious of the. Well, in fact, Charlie, I'll just get you. Go just expand a wee bit more on your thoughts on the Foley stuff, because you kind of touched that. What do you think are the implications for the wider relationship there for where we're at today with it?
Well, I think I can't mind when it got signed off, Matt. You were at the AGM when it got signed off. Was it about 4 or 5 months ago?
The 27th of February.
Aye, so 5-ish months ago. I can't believe that in 5 months we've managed to. Well, it seems like it's a fractured relationship already. And Ben Kensel was on record saying it's a groundbreaking investment for Hibs. And so far we've not spent a penny on transfer fees. Obviously wages and that and signing on fees, that's money. But we've not spent a penny. And I don't know if it's because Foley's unhappy. He's like, well, you're not getting your money, or you're not getting any more players like Nathan Mariah Welsh, who, by the way, is a fantastic player that Foley's given us. So that's been good. But I'm just concerned that if we didn't listen to him, a guy that actively wants to help us get better, then it might be that he pulls the money, which I'm not sure the legality of that, if he can do that. But that's my fear.
He's already paid it. He's already paid it. Like that, the money's in the Hibs bank, so Foley can't do anything with that. But what is interesting was, and nobody kind of questioned this at the time, or very few people did. Just recently, there was 2 million odd quid went into the bank, and it was HSL put a wee bit in, Leslie Robb put a wee bit in, and Biden, so the Gordon family put in a £2 million roughly, I think.
Yep.
Foley and the Black Knights put in nothing at that point. Now, at the time, you just thought it was maybe like a wee bit of a good gesture to HSL, let them put some money in and get some shares back or whatever. But in in hindsight now you're going, well, is that because the Black Knights maybe aren't as invested as they were based on decisions that have happened since then?
Yeah.
It makes me think. But in terms of taking money out or withholding money, that can't happen. The 6 million's
No,
paid
that's
and in the club's
aye.
coffers already.
I do wonder as well as like I know we were chatting earlier, Matty, in the one of the group chats about this internal review that's happening. Is that I guess with the whole Foley relationship, is the review still ongoing? Is that finished? I think I would like to see some comms on that, and I think a lot of people would as well. But who knows when that'll be?
There's a line of thinking to say that the review was just a shut the fuck up exercise, wasn't it? Like we finished bottom 6, in the same way that there was a theory that Brian McDermott was brought in as director of football as a shut the fuck up appointment because everybody was moaning about Lee Johnson.
Aye.
Who knows, like for the review, whether we will ever find out anything, but I suspect we won't. John, you got your hand up?
Surely the outcome of the review was the golden quadrangle. I mean, that puddle of pish that someone's going to talk about in October. I mean, where I used to work, that would be called wank speak.
Yeah.
I mean, bullshit monitors would have been flying off around the tables to say, where did you come up with that? You only appointed one of these guys 6 weeks ago.
It was reposted again twice yesterday.
I can understand why somebody would have an interest in sitting down with Hibs to say, how the hell did you get these bloody billionaires to put money into your club? I can understand that. But I'm sorry, quadrangle or golden quadrangle of whatever, I'm really, really sorry. That's another red flag in terms of what's going on in terms of naivety and such, because yeah, that's very much nobody tested that out with the room.
And you think it's
and
on
if
the
you're
back?
Bill Foley, seeing that with 50 years worth of experience, the soldier that he was, I mean, all the decorations he's got from that side, I suspect that his bullshit monitor was rattling as well.
And you think it's on the back of a season where we posted 3 million plus of losses, and the owners, who's part of that quadrangle of, whatever,
Yes.
has had to write off £5.5 million, and then chuck another £2 million in.
Well, the quote that they gave, right? So just doing a bit of counting. So we spent £10 million last year on staff costs, right? Nearly £200,000 a week. But we only brought in 12 million odd. I mean, we lost 60 million, so we must have spent 19, but that gave us that 81%. So if we still spend 10 million, but as sort of Ben was alluding to, we've actually got up to, we're trading about 15 million, then you immediately come down to the mid-60s and everything looks hunky-dory.
Yeah.
But if you still spent 19 million, I mean, you've still lost £3 or £4 million. I mean, so the ways I mean, and the whole the board they don't have to answer questions on this till a year, 18 months afterwards. I mean, so none of us will know till you guys are at a meeting. I mean, in February or March of next year, exactly what happened to the Foley money, where it went, and why we're looking just now. I mean, because it could be that there is a bit of a hole in the accounts because season tickets are down. We don't have Europe. We haven't progressed well enough in the cups. I mean, and
bottom 6 finish.
You're spending £200,000 a week in staff costs if they've not got those numbers down.
That's why we're not getting any players in.
Sorry, doom and gloom.
Charlie, you did put your hand up for a second there. Did you want to come in?
It was just a quick one. I was reading that about the thing John mentioned there about the golden quadrangle leadership, and I thought, oh, brilliant! I might go to that. No, realizing it's in fucking Manchester, of all places. Like, it's nothing to do, like, I don't know how it's came about, but surely you'd have something like that. Maybe they've chosen Manchester tactically, but surely you'd like to think that they'd be interested in having Hibs fans come along to that and maybe ask some questions of, like, Malky, why are you coming to the job or something like that, you know?
Well, it's a sports directorship company that's hosting it. So it's about leadership in sport rather than a specific Hibs thing. So I think it's Bolton Wanderers or something that they've got next. I can't remember. But that's why it's basically they're like guest speakers to another company's thing rather than Hibs hosting it. Right, we're we're out of time, so we're going to get predictions for Saturday. And just bear in mind what everybody predicted for Kelty, right? So take a deep breath before you do it. Did I get carried away? I suppose we're no riding a wave of optimism going into this one. Charlie, what's the score going to be on Saturday?
3-0 Hibs.
3-0 Hibs. James?
Back to normal, 5-0.
Good man. Jack?
3-0 Hibs.
3-0 Hibs, right. John, last word to you.
3-1.
3-1 to Hibs.
Yep.
Obviously, right. Guys, thanks very much for coming on. Thanks to Tracy. Tracy had to drop off a wee bit early tonight. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe. We will put an ad-free version of this out. So if you're watching this and you're not a subscriber or a YouTube member, you've probably had about 40 adverts by now to negotiate and skip. If you want it ad-free, just go to Patreon or go to YouTube members, which you'll find on one of the buttons around about the video, and you can sign up there and you'll get it without the adverts. If you go through Patreon or Hubwave and you're already on YouTube Premiere, you'll do that rather than go to YouTube member, because then you can still turn the video off and keep watching it, keep listening to it, because apparently that's the thing with YouTube members. It doesn't work